Hi, everyone. Welcome back into Module 4 of the Grit Resilience Coach Program for Education. As a reminder, my name is Nicole. Carolyn will be joining us in just a little bit today. Our goals today, we're going to review just briefly Module 3, talk a little bit about some online mental health supportive platforms that might be available for you, and then talk further about supporting students, athletes, and coworkers with grit, moving into the fourth step. In Module 3, we talked about asking questions and identifying strength and resilience, asking questions being really important that we don't feel interrogative or asking too many questions and leading to confusion. And then identifying coping strengths and resilience is really just asking those questions of what has worked for you in the past or what is going well for you now. We're going to talk about how we add to those strengths and really start to buffer and add resources and support to those. But within your conversations, looking for key areas of those strength and resilience, such as things like healthy eating and sleeping, exercise, calming, relaxation, social connections. All of those factors are really important as we encourage strength and coping in other people. So I wanted to start today by talking about some online mental health supportive platforms. There's two available that we'll talk about. But it is always helpful to check in with your own district and education community to see if they've made any of these platforms available for educators or for any of the staff or faculty at your location. There's quite a lot available. And like I said, I'm going to go over two that are available potentially for you, but there are many, many others out there. And so it can be helpful for you to check in with your own community and see what's out there for you. The first one is called My Resilience. This is also in your workbook. My Resilience was developed here at UCCS, University of Colorado Springs, and it is an interactive web platform that helps users work through 6 really key areas of stress and how do we manage and support in some of those areas. So those 6 areas are self-talk, or learning how to be the best advocate for yourself, how to seek social support, how to manage trauma, triggers, and memories, working on relaxation and calming, unhelpful ways of coping, and then something that is really helpful with My Resilience is seeking professional support. So this is a really great module to recommend somebody to go through, or if you yourself are interested in seeking mental health support, you can work through this module and it tells you exactly what you need to know about what mental health treatment is like, what kinds of treatment is out there, what questions you can ask to find a provider for yourself, and really helps work through some of those questions and answers. So it's a really nice module. So I'm going to share a different screen here and show you what this website looks like. What's also wonderful about My Resilience is it is completely free for any user, and it's also available completely in Spanish. So My Resilience was originally developed as My Trauma Recovery to help individuals work through traumatic memories. It's now been adapted to work through particular stressors, especially COVID-19. So a lot of the examples have actually been adapted for COVID-19. What's also really wonderful about My Resilience is when you sign up for it, you'll enter in things like your name and your user, whatever you'd like to use. And then you'll enter some really simple demographics, such as this is my age range, this is what race and ethnicity I belong to. And it then helps customize some of the videos and some of the language to further fit your own being, which is really fun. So again, here are those six areas that it focuses on. Social support is really nice. It can help you build a social support map. And so if you are talking to somebody who's really having a hard time finding some social support or remembering who is in their network, this is something you can recommend that they make, a social support map, so they know who to reach out to when they do need some support. Self-talk is a nice one because, again, I think we talked about this in previous modules, but we do tend to get into this a little bit of a negativity spiral at times. And our self-talk can really lead into that as well. And we might really start to have some negative or pessimistic self-talk happening. So this module helps you work out of some of those self-talk habits and work toward more positivity. I love the relaxation one as well. So it's an introduction to what relaxation can do and what it's intended for your body. And it also works through several different types of ways to relax. So breathing exercises, muscle relaxation, and even simple positive imagery. So if we
To help you remember to practice relaxing daily, it's best to have a regular time each day when you practice deep relaxation, especially at first when you're still learning. Many people find it easiest to do the exercises either first thing in the morning, before bedtime, or before meals. Throughout these exercises, we'll be demonstrating these techniques for you. Find a quiet time and place where you will be alone and won't be interrupted by family members, the phone, or the TV. Soft, relaxing music or a fan can also help to block out noises that might distract you. Do your relaxation exercises while sitting in a comfortable chair, lying on the bed, or lying on the floor on a comfortable mat. If you have a young child at home, you might have to get more creative, such as practicing relaxing while your child is taking their afternoon nap. You may want to close your eyes when you do these exercises to focus your attention on your body and reduce distractions. But you can keep your eyes open if you like. If you fall asleep while lying down, it might mean two things. First, maybe you need more sleep and your body is tired. Or second, you might need to do these exercises sitting up so that you can remain aware of what you're doing. You might even want to practice relaxation at bedtime to help you get to sleep. Remember, these exercises are intended to help you learn ways of feeling more in control of your body and emotions. Just do what you're comfortable with.
So a nice little introduction to relaxation if somebody's kind of foreign to that idea or has a hard time calming or relaxing. And then again, there's these more specific exercises that somebody can take on their own as well. Unhelpful coping talks about how we tend to isolate or go to anger or even use drugs and alcohol, and how to then get out of those unhelpful ways of coping. Triggers talks about what do you do if a sight, smell, memory, anything like that brings back hard feelings or hard memories for you, and how to work through some of those triggers. And then finally, professional help is the one that I was talking about. It talks about what are some common mental health treatments, especially in regards to trauma. How do I even know I need to seek professional help? Where do I go? And what can I say when I do contact someone? So if that's kind of out of your wheelhouse, that's completely fine. You can simply recommend that somebody check this out and they can work through this on their own. Once again, this entire website is completely free, available to anyone, and is also available in Spanish. The next one I wanted to share with you is called SilverCloud. SilverCloud is another supportive mental health platform. And we've been able to make SilverCloud free for our El Paso County, Colorado grit coaches. We'd love to make this free for everybody eventually, but right now that's kind of what we're limited to. So for everybody in El Paso County, Colorado, as a grit coach, you can use this yourself for SilverCloud, or you can give this out as a resource. It'll ask you for a PIN and you simply enter GRIT 2020 or GRIT Coach 2020 if you're giving out the PIN. So this is another very similar to My Resilience, but a little bit different. It talks about 4 different modules that you can work through. Space from COVID-19, which talks specifically about how do you work on relaxation and anxiety related to the pandemic. Sleep module, resilience and increasing resilience in each other, and then stress. So this is an example of what SilverCloud can do. So you can see in this module, I'm looking at the space from COVID-19, and there's several different pages I can check out. Challenging times, sleep difficulties, relaxation, mindfulness, grief and loss, money worries. So once again, a really nice tool that you can use for yourself or to provide to other people. And it talks about much more in depth about what are things like mindfulness and anxiety. What can you do about it? How do you work through it? And then they also have different exercises you can use as well. And they vary in how long they are. I've used these with several people I know, and I've just popped it up on the screen. We do some mindfulness together, which is really nice. And as an example, we'll allow the breathing.
This is the breathing space, taking a pause out of the busyness of doing into being. So finding a comfortable position, either standing, sitting, or lying down, closing your eyes and focusing on your breathing, breathing in, breathing out, not forcing or changing the breath in any way, just following the natural rhythm of your own breathing. And when you're ready then, bringing your attention inwards and scanning the body to notice what's going on, what physical sensations are there. Taking note of what's going on in the mind, what thoughts are there, and what feelings or emotions you're experiencing right now, in this moment. And then redirecting your attention back to the breath, to the in-breath and the out-breath as one follows the other from moment to moment. Helping you to sit with an awareness of how you are in this moment. Breathing in, breathing out, using the breath as the anchor to helping you stay in the present moment, going from one moment to the next. And now let us expand the field of our awareness around the breathing so that it includes a sense of the body as a whole, of your posture, of your facial expression, and how it is to be here right now with an awareness of the totality of your experience in this moment. So sitting with this awareness for the next few moments. And as we come to the end of this breathing space, we have given ourselves an opportunity to step out of automatic pilot and reconnect with being in the present moment. And with this awareness of how we are right now, we can move forward with choice as to how we move into the rest of our day.
So once again, just a short example of a 3-minute one, and they've got a wide variety of different types of exercises you could try, or again, you could use this with somebody or simply provide this as a resource. So that's Silver Cloud. And once again, if you'd like to try to use that as a grit coach in El Paso County, you should have gotten an email from me at some point, or I'll send emails pretty regularly about this. All right, we're diving into our 4th step, which is adding to strengths. So we've made connection, we've asked some helpful questions, we've started to identify coping strength and resilience and what's going well for somebody. And now this is when we really start to buffer up those strengths and possibly add some resources to it. Or if you notice if someone is needing to work on something such as sleep, that's another area that you can address and provide some resources for. So first of all, when we identify strengths and resilience and have people focus on those thoughts, we're really promoting that sense of control, safety, hope, and self-efficacy. And if we go back to those core principles of disaster support, those are some of the most important pieces, right? Our goal in these moments is to really listen, support, and encourage those resilient behaviors. We do tend to really pick on what's not going well sometimes for ourselves, for people we're talking to, and this is a little bit of really talking about what's going really well. So sometimes that's a shift in that conversation. So first you can simply say, I would like to talk to you about some things that you can do that are helpful during these tough times. And you can pick one of those 6 areas. So social connection and support, How is somebody making some social contacts? Are they feeling isolated or withdrawn? Do we need a little bit more boost in those social interactions? Some people with COVID-19 have had to really isolate themselves. Or if you're talking to students whose parents have had really stressful jobs, there might not be a lot of social interaction opportunities anymore. And so taking some time to really specifically ask about that can be really important. What kind of positive or mood boosting activities is somebody engaging in? And there are hundreds of different activities that are out there. And so asking, what's been making you feel happy lately? What's bringing a smile to your face? How are you working through some of that? What is somebody doing to calm and relax? And that could be things like mindfulness, that could be taking a walk. It could be, taking some time after the school day to simply put the books away and relax and rest the mind a little bit. What does healthy eating and sleeping habits look like? So is your student, taking a lot of caffeine lately, or really, if parents are really busy, are they eating a lot of junk food? What are some ways that you can kind of talk to them about those habits? Again, sleep, which has been across the board one of the most difficult things to be working with right now. I think sleep has been impacted in one way or the other in almost everybody I've talked to. So what kind of sleep habits are going on? And then exercise, in which, as Carolyn alluded to yesterday, exercise can simply be how do you move your body throughout the day. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I ran 3 miles or I did this Pilates class, whatever that might be. It also is just moving your body. When it comes to things like virtual and remote learning and connection, it can also be, after 50 minutes to an hour of watching the computer, to really get up, stretch, move around the house, take a quick walk, whatever that might be. And so that might be a more active way to encourage some exercise or more moving of the body. In all 6 of these areas of strength, at the back of your workbook is an appendix for each one of these. And so we hope that you don't feel like, well, that's great that I can, talk about calming and relaxation, but if somebody says they really need some help in that, then what do I do? So at the back of your workbook is an appendix for each one of these 6 areas. You can talk about, well, these are some ways of calming and relaxing, or you can brainstorm some ideas together, go through the list and have somebody pick out which ones to try next. So there's lots of different suggestions in that workbook that you can provide or you can talk to somebody about. Specifically, some questions you can ask to help add to those strengths. So first, you have a neighbor, family, friend, coach you are close to, whatever that might look like, that's helping strengthen those social connections. How are your friends doing? Have you reached out to them lately? This can be a helpful question for some of those older ages. Have you gotten outside in the fresh air? Have you been taking a walk? Have you been going outside at all? What is your favorite thing to do? Is a helpful question for some of those younger ages to help them think about some of the positive activities that they engage in, or even relaxing and calming. Have you watched any good shows lately? Same question for movies, or what kind of good music are you listening to? How do you like to end your day? I really like this, especially in the virtual world, because it's important that we close our book or close our computer at whatever time of day, whether that's 3:30, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever that needs to be. But really ending that learning or work day can be really important in a virtual remote world, because the boundaries between school and work life and home life tend to get a little blurred. And so if you create a routine of really ending your day, it can help cue the brain of, okay, now my learning time is done. Now it's time to do something else, whether that's having some fun or hanging out with the family, whatever that needs to be. But it's one big piece that we're missing in the remote learning and working environment is that drive home, right? Of now my day is done and I can move on to the next thing. And so you can kind of brainstorm some ways of how are you ending your work or learning day? What are you looking forward to? What are you eating for breakfast and lunch? Again, that's targeting some of that healthy eating. Are you sleeping okay? And then what's your favorite sport to play? Can be a fun question, again, to talk about the exercise or mood boosting, relaxing activities as well. So you certainly don't have to run the gambit of all these questions. This can hopefully feel a little bit natural when you're talking to somebody. But these are ways you can start to kind of grab at some of the strengths or some of the things that are going well for somebody to then add resources into. And again, the workbook is full of resources you can provide or work through somebody with. And when we're talking with students, it's important to show that you're listening. So in a virtual environment, again, maybe putting away distractions, in an in-person environment, trying to get some privacy or confidentiality. So it's just the two of you talking when appropriate. Carolyn's going to go more into, making sure we follow school protocols, but really show that you're giving the time and attention that's needed to show that you're listening and engaged in the conversation. Make room and time for the student to talk, whether that means that you're checking in with them after class or you're talking with their parent about checking in after school one day, whatever that needs to look like, but making sure there is enough time and room for that student to really be able to share the right amount of feelings and thoughts. Use their name is really helpful too. Support their feelings. Communicate clearly, especially again in that remote world, making sure that there's good connection. You guys can hear each other. You guys can really talk with one another. And try to avoid trying to solve or fix any thoughts, feelings, experiences. Again, the goal isn't to magically make everything better for somebody, but rather to help work through some helpful issues. Don't change the subject when somebody does begin to share feelings, or don't try to shut down those feelings. And don't demand that someone talk if they don't want to talk or if they don't feel ready. And then finally, don't attack or punish feelings, especially if it's something you're uncomfortable with as well. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and shift it back over to Carolyn, who's been able to join us now to really talk more about following school protocol. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Okay, hello everybody. Nice to join you. So following school protocol, this is really important, as many of you as educators already realize, that there are very tight protocols in how we contact students, how we communicate with students, especially one-on-one. And so it is really important to double check with your school. And also, if you are a team coach and you're associated with the school, of course, you're going to be following that protocol. But if you are associated with an athletic team that's part of the community, there may be a governing association that sets that standard, sets those protocols. So again, it's a really wise idea to check through those channels when you're involved with contacting a student if there's a level of concern. Typically within school environments, educators are very much encouraged to reach out to parents if there is something something that you're noticing, and definitely express that concern with parents. Also going through the organization of the school and talking with the counselors and school administration. Sometimes it may be a team approach with working with a student as well. So just think about those things when you are involved with the process of reaching out. So thinking about coping ideas, and this is a great process, so kind of put on your brainstorming hat, if you will, but this does follow a lot of the areas of care that we've been talking about through these sessions. So the importance of social connection and support, looking at various ways to really reinvigorate those connections. We know humans are herd animals. We really love to be around each other. although there are those times that we need a break, this is much more of an extended break than any of us ever anticipated. So really like reminding us how we have different networks of support in lots of different ways. And so that can also be, through a spiritual organization, mentors, positive friends, family members. I know that there are a lot of youth organizations that have also gotten pretty creative in making sure that those who are involved with those organizations still are able to do the activities and do it, in a safe way. So what, really is uplifting for your mood? Here are some examples: dancing, karaoke, art. I mean, there's some fun things that you can do virtually with sing-alongs. I've been watching some wonderful videos from ballet companies where they've been able to put together almost a whole production individually, but together, set to the same score. And it's just really cool to watch. And there have been some other organizations here locally where it's a youth dance group, and they're putting on a presentation at the university center where they're doing it outside. So it's a great way where they can share their passion and they can also provide joy for others. So it's an uplifting experience for those who are dancing and then also watching it. So what makes you calm? What provides that sense of relaxation and of that mood shift? We've talked a lot about the power of pets. Actually, there's been studies that have been done where just petting your dog can create a physiological change to your overall well-being. Journaling, I would say that I never considered myself an avid journaler prior to maybe the last year or so, but I've been playing around with that, and there's a lot of fun ways to journal. There's a lot of ways to be creative, like with the bullet journals, and there's some really fun journals specifically designed for students, for youth of all ages, for those creatives or those non-creatives. So again, it's something to think about, especially some of the guided journals. Drawing, we don't have to draw well to enjoy it. And drawing is something that's definitely calming. Sometimes I just like to throw paint on the canvas and pretend I'm a modern artist, which I'm sure I'm not. But again, there's something that's like a release in that. It's just doing different things together. Some of the things that we've been doing at our home is I've gotten into embroidery lately, which again haven't done that for years and years. My daughter may be making origami. My sister, who we take care of, she may be doing some beads, but it's just the fact that we're together and music is on, and it's just a nice shift where we're not watching the news and we're not kind of overstressed with thinking that there's homework and there's work to be done. It's just time together. Listening to music, getting outside, all of those things are great ways to shift your mood. So kind of think about that in the back of your head about all of these different things that you do, because those are other suggestions that you can share as well with colleagues, with students, with your student athletes. So eating healthy foods, fresh fruits, water, especially right now because of, dependent upon where you live, but we've been seeing a lot of days where the smoke is heavy. You can feel that it's very dry, and if you're getting outside and you're exercising more, you really need to be attentive to water. Many of us are working from our basements, and so sometimes, the water source is way upstairs and that seems very far away, and you may get to the end of the day when you haven't been outside and you have not had enough water, and all of a sudden you have a headache, right? So again, it's really important to think about that. It's also important to remind students, especially when they're working from these virtual environments. So taking those little mini breaks, filling your water back up, getting creative with recipes, maybe coming together with a virtual recipe share night with different staff members. We showed that awesome video with, showing like different ways to cook and how to engage kids. Very fun. And learning to cook. It's a great time to try out some crazy recipes with whatever you happen to have in the pantry. And then calling it a snack night if it doesn't work, right? So it's kind of giving you that space and that latitude to play. Sleeping, podcasts. I'm going to highlight podcasts. I know we've talked a lot about the importance of sleep and calming music, of course, and herbal tea. Setting that routine. Is it a hot bath and then I'm going to have some tea, or the other way, and then listening to that music. And my daughter likes to listen to podcasts to go to sleep, and she says it's interesting because she doesn't ever really remember what was said, but she has some go-to podcasts where the voice is very calming. I always think of those educational nature videos that like, and now the geese are flying across the sky, and you're not really paying attention to the geese. It's that nice calm voice that helps you to kind of shift your thinking away from, oh my gosh, I have to do this and I didn't get this done, and all of this is happening, and your brain kind of goes into that. Same thing when you wake up in the middle of the night. If you have that go to, and you don't really have to think about hitting the play too much, you just know it's right there, that's another way that you can shift back into that zone where you're able to fall asleep again. This is coming from an insomniac. Sorry, go ahead, Nicole.
Okay. I was just saying, speaking of podcasts, there is a list of podcasts at the back of the workbook as well that the podcasts are centered around kind of healthy living, resilience, self-efficacy, some of those topics. But if you're kind of in the mood for a new podcast or you'd like to check them out, there's a couple of suggestions at the back of your workbook. I don't think it's in there, but I'm also loving Brene Brown's podcast lately, Unlocking Us. She just has so many amazing topics, and her voice is really soothing to me as well. So that's another one you could check out.
And exercise, and rethinking exercise. So skateboarding, that's exercise, and that can be a lot of fun, just as long as you have a helmet on and of course all of the protective gear. Same thing with bike riding, running, walking, and really kind of being in tune with the activity. Yesterday I noticed a couple of younger kids, and one was riding their bike, no hands on the handlebar, no helmet, and then looking at their phone, and I'm just like, no good. And so it's kind of a nice reminder to like get out there, but be safe and just be tuned into how your body's feeling and what is really present in your landscape, and that way you can get the most out of it. So now our pause for self-reflection.
Yes. So it's important that we walk the walk. How are you encouraging these types of resilient behaviors in yourself? And are there areas that you want to focus more on? So again, if you're coming at us live, feel free to enter into the chat here. If you're watching this as a recording, it's in your workbook. I apologize, I missed the page number on this one, but it's in there, I promise. So what are ways that you're encouraging those resilient behaviors in yourself? What do you think, Carolyn?
I know that the day can go by, and I realize when I get to the sun is falling and I haven't been outside, I feel really bummed. And so I've been trying to at least like take my lunch outside, go around the block, like do something where I feel like I've let the sun soak in. And then I feel so much better.
I absolutely agree. That's something I'm working on too, is kind of mindful eating or just doing one thing at a time. I'm very much a multitasker. And so when I'm eating lunch, I'm usually, checking on my email or I'm on my phone. And so I'm trying really hard to put away the electronics, especially because, I do work remotely. So my face is on this computer so many more hours in the day than I'd prefer. So really being mindful of my activities is something I'm working on. Let's see, there's somebody that says setting a calendar reminder to check in with myself and how I'm feeling at that moment. That's an amazing, amazing suggestion. I love that. There's even some apps you can get that give you little reminders throughout the day of like, hey, check in, how are you doing? Take a minute. So that's a wonderful suggestion. And I rely on my calendar at this point. So that's a cool suggestion as well, to put it in your calendar. Hey, self-care. Hey, check in. It's helpful. Someone else says getting outside, planning to get adequate sleep, laughing, practicing mindfulness, checking in with family and friends. Absolutely, which is, that's almost all 6 of our pieces anyway. You're hitting all of them, so that's wonderful.
And I want to say one more thing here as well. Like, it's so important for us to be kind to ourselves right now. And so we may say like, I need to run a mile today. And I know, Nicole, you were talking about this the other day. But it's like sometimes it's okay just to get outside and be okay with that. Like you got outside, you got around the block, or you just got outside to have your lunch, right? So being kind to yourself as well, with giving you time to really strengthen that resiliency muscle.
Absolutely agree wholeheartedly. All right, thanks for sharing, everyone. All right, so now we're going to do another quick role play for you, in which we'll talk about reaching out to a student. This time it'll be a freshman in college that looks a little bit different. Again, talking about that following school protocol, that might look a little different. And then checking in with some uncertainty about sport as well. And in this one, we'll do a really brief kind of make connection, ask questions, add to strengths. So that part will go a little faster than it might necessarily within your conversations, but we're just doing that so that we're not taking all of your time in this role play. So to start with, we'll have Carolyn reach out to me as a freshman in college.
Hello, Nicole.
Hi, Professor Carolyn.
Hi. So we talked a few days ago about a concern that I had that you were missing some assignments. And then when we were having that discussion, really starting to think about what was going on. And so I just wanted to circle back, and we left off with really talking a little bit about, you know, being overwhelmed and maybe coming up with a plan to manage your time and maybe some resources that you were going to think about. So how are you doing with that?
I feel like it's still hard. I mean, school only started a couple of weeks ago, and I only just got out of, the quarantine concern. So I feel like I'm already a little behind in my classes, and that feels really stressful.
So have you been able to find a way to chunk things out into smaller bits and be able to kind of come up with, I'm going to accomplish this and feel like I'm making some headway?
Yeah, I've been trying to. I started a bullet journal, which you had talked about last time we had talked. So I started doing that, where I kind of write down my daily tasks, and then I've been physically crossing them off, and that kind of helps, I think, just remind me that, even if I feel like I didn't do a whole lot, there's these things on my list that I did definitely check off. So I've been trying to use the bullet journal. I'm not there all the way yet, but I'm working on it. So I think it's getting a little bit better.
And how is it with being able to kind of figure out how to manage everything happening in learning remotely? Have you been able to pull that over into your bullet journal also?
I don't know. I don't know that I have specifically. I am using like the calendar in my computer a lot, so I get a little reminder anytime I need to start getting ready for class or anything like that. So I think that's been a little bit helpful. It is, I graduated with the remote learning, so I had a little bit of experience there at the end. So it's a little different now in college, but I think I've kind of got the ropes of it pretty easy.
Okay. And then one of the things that is really helpful, because we've been communicating, is, if you're feeling like overwhelmed in some of your other classes, also letting your other professors know that you're working on this, and that this is your plan, right? And that you're working on the time management piece. I think that can be helpful too. Do you feel like you have some support from some of your other professors?
Yeah, I think everybody's been really supportive. Do you think they'll understand though if I tell them I'm really working on it? I'm feeling a little behind, but I'm trying. Do you think they'll be receptive to that?
It's hard to say because every professor is different, but I do know that most, when you communicate and you let them know you're working on a plan, that they appreciate that, and then they will know how they can support you as well.
Okay, I'll try that this week.
Okay. And if you come up with, a class where you're not getting that support, then I really recommend you reaching out to maybe some others that in that class. I bet that there's some students in this class that are also taking some of your other courses, and maybe you can team up and be, study partners too. That may be an idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, let's find a time to touch base again, maybe in next week. I noticed that you're starting to make some headway in some of this work, so that way we can just stay on track.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Thanks, Professor. All right, good. So another quick role play. Carol and I had already made connection at one point. Maybe she's my advisor, or a teacher, whoever that might be for me. But giving some ideas of these are some ways to really help structure some of your time. These are the ways that you can really advocate for yourself. And then how do you connect with people is always helpful. And then another little follow-up of saying, hey, let's check in again. So
yeah. There's one thing I do want to hit on this too. If in that conversation something had come up where Nicole really expressed something that was a debilitating feeling, one thing that we do have on our campus is a care team, very much like, teams that you have at your schools as well. And that's really a team of professionals that are ready to support students at a higher level. So that's something too to listen for when you're having these conversations.
Absolutely. And that's definitely a conversation you can have with your school or your education community as well. Just asking, hey, what is out there? If I have a student that's struggling, or if I notice something, how do I refer them to more help, or what can I do about that? So that's a good conversation to have. All right, in this second role play, we'll do this more as like a coworker. So maybe we're both coaches for, let's do the mountain biking team that Carolyn talks about sometimes. So we're both coaches for this mountain bike team, but maybe we've been informed that races are going to be held off for the next several weeks because of the pandemic, and how do we kind of support our athletes in that? So I'm going to go ahead and give Carolyn a call in this one. So ring, ring. Hey, Coach Carolyn.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed because I just heard from the admin that we're going to have to kind of delay some of these races. And I know that, we kind of have been going through this last couple of months, but I just didn't expect it. I was calling just to see kind of what you were thinking.
Yes, I know. I am really super bummed as well. I know a lot of our student athletes have been training with the hope that they would be able to race in the fall, and they put a lot of miles in, and now it's just not looking that hopeful. So I definitely understand that feeling. I'm feeling the same way as well.
Yeah, okay. So I'm glad I don't feel alone in that feeling of overwhelm. I was trying to kind of troubleshoot or think of some ways that we can keep our students, our athletes still engaged. And one of my ideas was maybe doing kind of a virtual race where they could do it on their own, but they could kind of, log some times for us. What do you think about that?
I think that would be amazing. I think we could, host our own challenge and maybe come up with some virtual rewards or awards, like kind of a leaderboard. I think that would be great. And that would be a way to really try to keep them motivated.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. So that's good. I think that would be a fun way to kind of help support our athletes and keep pushing them on as we get through these next several weeks.
And we can encourage them too to share kudos to each other during that. So maybe we can let's all cheer each other on this. I think that'll help everybody too with support.
Yeah, I love that idea. I also wanted to just check in and see how you're doing with everything. It's just been such an up and down 6 months or so.
Yeah, it's definitely been it's been hard. And one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about our team is just being able to see our athletes grow. And the fun that they have with each other during the races. So I'm definitely feeling some loss around that.
Yeah. So it's good that we can kind of try to keep connected with them in all of this as well, it sounds like.
Yes, and maybe what we need to think about is I know we have like a hard stop to our season typically when all of the races are done, but we may want to set up something off season so they can still stay motivated and get out there and keep exercising and supporting each other.
Yeah, I love that idea. And maybe you and I could kind of stay motivated together too. I know that I've kind of lost it at some points where I just want to stay in bed all day. But maybe we can kind of do a coach, virtual buddy system as well, and kind of push each other, make sure we're all out there really getting some exercise and doing this together.
I think that would be awesome. Maybe we could do like a t-shirt, like the 1,000-mile challenge or something for coaches and students. That would be really cool.
Oh, I love that idea. All right, I'm going to run with that. How about I call you next week? We'll see how things are going.
Okay, sounds cool.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
So hopefully an example about how you can use some of these similar conversations, even just, coworker to coworker, coach to coach, teacher to teacher, whatever that might be. And we're still supporting our students and our athletes, and also checking in with each other as well. So you can use these skills, in a very adaptable way. It does not have to be, bump, bump, bump going down the list, but more of these are things that have been in my mind. I really want to work on resilience, and this is the way I want to bring it to my entire community, one-on-one and community level wide. Any more thoughts on that one?
I do think too that, for our seniors who are really invested in sports and they're looking at maybe being a college athlete, sometimes there's some stress around that. If competitions are canceled, and what is that going to look like, and what are their chances? And so I think that's another area to kind of just keep an ear open for also.
Absolutely. Right, and then a couple of different resources that are also in your book. Carolyn, I'll let you talk about what these 4 are, and the links for all 4 of these are in your module 4 in the workbook.
So many of you may be familiar already with Sources of Strength, but it is a program that is really constructed to address the issue that we're seeing with suicides and youth. And it's very much of like an upstream approach where they're trying to work with students within schools so that there's more peer support around what are these areas of strength in our lives, so that they can start to become really adept when they're having a conversation with another student, and that student is really feeling frustrated, that they can start to point to those areas of strength that student may or may not, always, remember or be aware of, that they do have that support system. And so if you go on to Sources of Strength, what's nice right now is that they have a ton of resources that are free, that are downloadable, that you can print. They have different journaling activities, different ways to think about some fun things to do in those like 6 areas that we've been talking about. So it's a really nice website. So even if you're not using it within your educational environment, I do really recommend that you check it out because it's very much in line with what we've been talking about during this training. And so the other site there is Talking Points, and this is a great website for communicating with families when language may be a barrier. And it's a way that you can text, and it works with you on translating those messages. And it's a nonprofit organization, so it's free. But again, a great resource when you're connecting with families where there is maybe a concern, or you want to hook them up with some different resources. So this will definitely help you with the communication piece. The Trevor Project is another nonprofit organization, and it's a national organization designed specifically to provide crisis intervention and suicide prevention services to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning your LGBTQ young people under 25. It is a website that provides like real-time support if someone needs help who's in that community, and there is like a crisis number to call. But there is also a lot of resources as well. Thinking back to what we were talking about around some of your most vulnerable communities, and when there are different layers of stress, you do really want to stay tuned into that as well. Again, a great resource. And Virus Anxiety is another great website. And this website, it's like a set up as a toolkit. And so there are different areas that you can go into as a parent or just to ask an expert. There's meditations. There's a whole section on financial fears. When I clicked on it today, today's mantra is, I choose to focus on what I can control. So there's a daily mantra. There's one that we didn't list that I just want to share, and it's shinetext.com, or just Shine. And it's another site that has some self-care, meditation, inclusive meditations, personalized affirmations that you can receive like in your email or as a text. But it was really created to have a diverse representation. It was created by two women who realized that they didn't always see members of their own community in some of these apps and meditation programs. And so it's a really cool website to check out as well.
Thanks.
All right, so our good things. Do you want me to set this up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so mountain biking, I know I keep talking about it, but everybody has their thing. What I like about this short video is it kind of rethinks the stereotype of who a mountain biker is, but it's also like, you know, who is this female racer? And it also shows the network of support within this group of female athletes that are always riding against each other and competing against each other. So it's just a fun, lighthearted take on mountain bike racers and really strong women.
They say that mountain biking isn't a sport for women.
Seriously?
They say it's only for young people.
Oh, come on.
And they say you will look like a guy.
Do we?
They say that if you race each other, you end up enemies off the track. They say that it's risky, that you could break more than a fingernail.
Well, you can. Oh, and you will never again need souvenirs from your trips. That's Australia, Canada, England, and of course, Poland.
But isn't it a hard sport?
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it really tough?
Yeah, it's really tough. But so are we.
Bob.
So, why do we love it? It's energy. It's nature.
It makes you fit and healthy.
It makes you look good. It's very social. It's dynamic. It's adrenaline. It's fun.
It's freedom.
We love it. Whatever nation you are, I'm Norwegian, I'm French, Ukrainian, Dutch, Danish, I'm Polish, I'm from Brazil, I'm Swiss,
I'm Canadian.
whatever age you are.
I'm 30.
I'm 45, 25, 34, 37, I'm 29, I'm 34, I'm 27,
Whatever occupation you have.
I'm coach. I created a mountain bike development team. I am a mathematician, I'm a speed skater, dentist, I'm a mother. It's a sport for everybody. Go and ride your bike. Just go and ride your bike. Like we do.
Every day.
Oh, I love that.
It's a lot of fun. Plus, it's something to look forward to when we can have our races again, you know.
All right, so that brings us to the end of Module 4. Thank you everybody for joining us so far. We're going to continue this wonderful conversation in Module 5.